I don't think she's coming out.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Death Valley Life. Apologies for the bright, harsh lighting. It's a little earlier in the day than I would have liked to have shot this, but, well, we have a friend coming to visit and he's really noisy. So I thought I better get this done before he gets here. And, well, thought I might as well check on the cat while I'm at it. That's right, I think the cat is hiding somewhere under the casita. Now, why is the cat hiding under the casita, you might ask? Well, it's because it was finally time to give Noonie that gentle nudge out into the wide open world and, well, get her out of the house because my sister's tired of changing her litter box. And who can blame her, honestly? I mean, changing a cat's litter box is no fun, especially when we have plenty of sand and piles all over the place where the cat can drop a deuce the natural way. So I'll admit, it was really hard at first to just get her out of the house. She didn't seem to want to leave. Man, she wants to get back in so bad. She's losing all her toenails, clawing on the screen. They're all popping off, laying here on the mat. Look. Oh, Noonie, all your claws. What's the big deal? You don't like it out here? What, is that a no? Oh, there goes another toenail. So the first day, I only made her stay out for 10 minutes. And then the second day, I made her stay out for 15 minutes. Yikes! What are you, Spider-Man Noonie? And, well, by the third day, she pretty much figured out she could run over here to the casita and burrow underneath of it because there's no slab foundation. It's just resting on cinder blocks. So there's a nice dark crawl space underneath it that is no doubt filled with snakes, scorpions, black widows, and all manner of creepy crawlies. But apparently that doesn't bother Noonie because that's where she spends all day, every day until, oh gosh, around sunset, we try to come outside and sit and talk and have a drink and just be calm so that the cat will finally come back out and into the house. And it's been working out pretty well. She doesn't come out at dusk, but she comes out around 6 p.m., which out here at this time of year, it's already full dark. So we call her, or she comes in when she wants to around dark, and she spends all night in the house, eats her food, poops and pees in the litter box, and then we put her out first thing in the morning. So the hope is she will soon figure out that she can poop and pee out here, and we can do away with the litter box altogether. Anyway, in my last Death Valley Life vlog, I promised that I would show you everything that was wrong with the casita and why we want to, well, if not tear it down altogether, at least do a very thorough remodel on it. And I will get to that in a minute, but gosh, there's just been a lot going on at the old compound the past week. Now, first of all, if you hear voices in the background, well, that's my sister and our friend Terry. You might remember Terry as being the friend whose truck broke down when we were trying to get to Saline Valley Hot Springs out in Death Valley earlier this year. And we ended up having to go to Tonopah and try to find a diesel mechanic, and oh, it was a whole friggin' rigmarole. Well, the good news is his truck works just fine now, and it's parked right here, and he's been staying with us for the past week or so because he's an electrician. He's a licensed electrician, and he very kindly and generously offered to help us with our myriad electrical issues. And while we knew there were going to be some electrical issues, like the very first night we stayed here, we tried to turn the light on in this building, and it went out after about 1 second. And we knew that the guy we bought the house from was kind of a DIY, do-it-yourselfer. And, you know, to be fair, he was better than I would be at a lot of things. Like, he tiled the bathroom, which came out pretty good. He remodeled the kitchen, which came out way better than it would if I would have done it. But apparently, he did a really bad job with the wiring. Terry, well, I've heard it said by others in the construction trade that electricians can be very prissy. So maybe part of that is just prissiness. But to hear him tell it, the wiring was just thoroughly unsafe to the point where he said we even could probably sue the guy who sold us the house because it was so faulty. So that's really scary. Thankfully for us, Terry was kind enough to not only offer to stay here for a few weeks and help us, but he might even stay for a few months to help us. And that's just fine because it just so happens that we have that fifth wheel travel trailer sitting right down there waiting for guests. So even though the fifth wheel isn't quite up to snuff yet, I think the sink is leaking and the toilet's leaking, and oh gosh, there's problems with that too, surprise, surprise. Once my sister gets that up to snuff, Terry's going to move in there, and so he'll have his own private space, and well, it'll be a lot nicer for him, especially because he's going out of his way to do all this work to help us. Now, in the meantime, Terry is unfortunately having to sleep on the couch in the living room, which I'm sure is a real bummer for him, but hey, it'll only be a week or so before my sis gets the fifth wheel up to snuff, and well, then he'll have his own private place to retreat to, and well, he'll also be neighbors in our little trailer court down here with Jim. You remember our friend Jim? The very kind 80-year-old man who we met at a hot spring, who showed up here just to help us work on stuff and fix things. And well, he's been here for over a month now. Well, you probably remember that in my last vlog, I was talking about how Jim was having car problems. And I went into all of that in the last video, and oh my gosh, people were very generous with Jim. And Jim is really camera shy. He doesn't want to be on camera, but well, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you might have seen that I talked him into at least taking a picture with me so that people could see that he's real and I wasn't just making up some scam to make money. He does exist. He is a veteran. He is 80 years old, and you guys were very generous. He has enough money now to where he not only got his van up and running, but he has enough for a pretty significant down payment on a truck that is capable of towing his trailer, which is huge because he lives in that trailer full time. He doesn't have a home anywhere else, so that's pretty big. He has to tow that up to the campground in May to go back to his camp hosting job, so hopefully by then he'll be able to find a truck, and if he does, it'll be in large part, if not almost entirely, thanks to the generosity of people who watch this channel. So, man, thank you so much for helping him out. He's a good guy. He deserved it, or deserves it, and well, fingers crossed he finds a truck. So Jim and Terry will be living down the hill. My sis and me will be living up here in the big house. But hey, that's also supposed to be temporary because my sister is supposed to, at the end of all of this, move into the casita. So I guess now is as good a time as any to show you what I'm talking about when I say that this casita is in rough shape. Now, apologies if there's noise in the background. My sister started a load of laundry over there in the laundry room. And no, it wasn't because the cat peed on anything. It's just regular laundry. But here's the exterior of the casita. So you can see it's one of those prefabricated buildings, basically a glorified tough shed, like you would put in your backyard. I guess it's built with stick framing. I haven't looked inside the walls, but you can see it's covered in siding. The walls are, well, not very thick. The ceiling roof is not very insulated. And well, altogether, it's just a pretty cheaply constructed building. We'll look inside in more detail in a minute, but first let me show you the foundation. Okay, so you can maybe see over here, there is, well, a little bit of water damage down here from where I guess the irrigation got to it, but you might be able to see it's just sitting on a cinder block right there. You can see the ground beneath it. It's not on a slab foundation of any kind. You can see over here too, like, who knows what all kinds of creepy crawlies are hiding down there. Least of which is the cat, who likes to hide around the back side of the casita, which is the west side and faces the blazing, baking desert heat. I guess it doesn't bother her. But back here you can see there's a pretty big gap underneath. And well, somewhere down there is where Noonie hides out all day long. So you can see looking along here, there's a big gap underneath the floor of this building, which might be why the floor is so uneven on the inside. Okay, let's go inside and I'll show you. I mean, the porch seems fairly solid. It's not buckling or anything. But then you come into the building and, well, you can see right away that the floor is, I'm not sure what's going on here, why the linoleum cracked in that shape. Like, almost looks like there'd be a trap door there or something. But I think it just cracked. I'm not sure why. It's in pretty rough shape. There's another crack there. You can probably hear it creaking where I step on it. The floor is uneven. I think it's got a big dip in the middle. I don't know. The first time we came in to look at this place, and even the second time when we came in with the home inspector and he pointed out that it was essentially just a garden shed, well, it still didn't look that bad to me. And I don't know if you've been watching, you might remember that my sister and I kind of fought over who got to live in the casita. Because I just thought it would be so cool. You know how I'm always going on about how I want to be alone? Well, I would love it if I had my own little house to retreat to when we have, you know, friends coming over like this loud guy or, you know, it's real. I've been trying to work on editing videos here while my sister and Terry are working on projects and, you know, it can be hard to focus. So I would have liked to have a little private spot to retreat to, but whatever, it worked out. My sister has a dream for it, and who am I to deny her that dream? Hey, that's fine. Anyway, though it might have looked cute on first glance, well, once we bought the property and came in, well, guess what? The toilet had started leaking pretty badly. That's just what happens from the mineral buildup, I guess. I know it looks really raunchy and gross, but I think that's just from minerals. But you can see back behind it, the linoleum's all buckled and warped because water, I don't know how long it was leaking for, but it just looks like the floor in here is probably really messed up. I mean, you probably can't tell, but the linoleum's buckled up here too. It's not even laid down properly. I mean, look at this. It's hanging up. Dead cockroaches all over the place. I mean, the shower is in decent condition. It doesn't look too bad. But really, the rest of this bathroom is pretty janky. I mean, I don't know what's going on under this sink. I guess it's not too bad. A little cleaning and it'd probably be okay. I don't know. I guess essentially you could just tear out the floor in the bathroom and redo that and repair the toilet and replace the toilet, whatever. It's just like when it comes to redoing the whole floor in here, well, it just kind of seems necessary to rip out the whole floor and pour in some kind of slab underneath it or do something to shore it up. And if you're going to go ahead and do all that, well, then by gum, you might as well just tear the whole thing down to stud and, you know, add some friggin' insulation. It's the same deal as with our main house. This thing is not insulated at all. I mean, I showed you the cross section. So my sis, I think, might use this as kind of almost like a little guinea pig project. Like try to beef it up, put rigid foam panels on the exterior, or maybe even just pile up adobe mud with straw. You know, those ancient building techniques are, even today, sometimes the most efficient. Matter of fact, we went to a guy's house who lives over, I might have mentioned this in a vlog, the guy that runs the China Ranch date farm, really famous date farm, delicious date shakes. Oh. Well, we went and volunteered over there a few weeks ago to help him pull out invasive tamarisk trees because they had a bad fire over there about 6 months ago. And so these little tamarisk seedlings started sprouting up everywhere. And well, if you know anything about desert trees, tamarisks are these big, shaggy trees that grow with almost no water. Or I should say they find water wherever it is. So they'll grow just about anywhere out in these blighted desert communities. And people used to plant them because they grow fast, they provide shade, and they provide a wind block. But they're really bad for your plumbing. Anyway, so we went over there to help him pull out tamarisk seedlings, and he invited us over to his house afterwards. And his house is badass. He built it himself with the help of an architect, I think, or a builder. Out of adobe brick that he made himself out of the surrounding mud, you know, from out in the desert. He just collected dirt and sand and clay and made these adobe bricks and built this whole house out of them. And it's really well executed. He did a wonderful job with it. So my sister might use adobe, mud, cob, straw bales, who knows, anything to beef up this house. So I guess technically it's not going to be a tear down. She's not going to tear it down and start from scratch. She's just going to tear it down to stud, probably leave the roof, and then just reinforce everything, and then maybe reinforce the roof last. But all of that is going to be really far down the pipeline because there's a lot of other way more pressing issues we got to deal with first. Okay, but before we leave the casita, just a quick peek. There was a little kitchenette here. It's kind of in disarray now. Let me zoom out. Because we were moving some stuff around to unplug this. I mean, that was part of the reason our power bill was so expensive. We had a fridge in here plugged in. We had a fridge down in the Quonset hut plugged in. Like, no wonder the fridge in the RV was plugged in. So we went ahead and unplugged the fridge and the stove. There was like a little microwave here, and I don't know. I mean, if I had moved into this casita, I would have made this into like a little dressing room, and I would have had my little boudoir here, and I would have had my bed there, and well, gosh, I probably still would have had to fix the friggin' floor, and I still would have had to deal with the insulation issue, so I'm not salty at all that my sister got the casita. In fact, I feel bad for her, actually, because she's having to sleep on the futon in there, and there's just stuff piled up everywhere, and well, it's not like a super pleasant living situation for everybody, especially since Terry's bunking with us now, too, but it's all part of the adventure, and I'm trying to be zen about it. I'm a Virgo, so I'm real anal about stuff, and unfortunately, I'm not doing a very good job. But my sister, to her immense credit, is being very zen about the whole thing. Sure, she's having to sleep on a futon. Sure, she's having to cram all her stuff into one little section of the closet that I keep complaining about. She's been very zen throughout all of this, even with all these electrical issues. And, well, we even had like a minor electrical fire the other day down in the Kwanzaa hut, and I'm not going to get into the details of it because it's a sore subject, but whew. Suffice it to say, the electrical needs to be addressed before we even start to think about this casita. Oh, and here's one other kind of cool thing. When she was cleaning out the casita, my sister found all these really neat old photos that I don't know if they're family photos of the guy who built this place. I don't know if that was like his, look at his beautiful grandma. Sorry about the glare. Maybe that was him when he was a kid. But then this one here is the coolest because it's some old-timey couple. But then there's a dead cockroach trapped inside the frame right on the guy's forehead. Gnarly. Okay, I better wrap this up because, well, like I said, we have this friend showing up in a bit, and then there's going to be a big party tonight, actually. A big old party in town tonight and tomorrow night. And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of carrying on and merriment and not much work getting done. So I'll wrap this video up and try to get it up and posted. But before I sign off, just a few developments in the house. We got a water cooler. That's nice. So we can put our 5-gallon jugs of water in there instead of having to constantly fill this 2.5-gallon camping jug and use that. Although what's funny is we ordered this fancy one that makes hot water, cold water, and room temperature water. And it was like an extra $150 than just getting a regular one. But then we thought, like, well, leaving the heating element on all the time is probably going to draw a lot of power. And we don't need hot water all the time. We only need it every now and then if we want a cup of coffee or something like that. In which case, I have an electric tea kettle right here that heats up boiling water in like less than a minute. So I don't know if it makes more sense to leave hot water on continuously all the time on that thing or just boil the occasional pot there. Likewise, does it make more sense to keep this thing cold all the time or just keep, my sister keeps a pitcher of water in the fridge, chilled at all times. So I don't know. We left off the heating element. I think she turned on the cold, but I think we kind of wasted $150. Oh well, hey, we might end up using it sometime in the future. Okay, here's one last thing, and that is the temperature. Believe it or not, it's November 13th or 12th. I don't know, 12th, 13th. Okay, I guess it's the 12th. Anyway, you can see that it's 78 degrees indoors, a balmy 80 degrees outdoors. And I find two things noteworthy about this reading. One, it's 80 degrees on November 12th. Yikes. I mean, it's pleasant. It's kind of hot if you're outside for too long, but I guess I should have expected that moving to Death Valley. The second thing that I find noteworthy about this is, okay, so it's 78 in here, 80 outside. That means it's only, this house, we're not running the swamper or anything, only keeps things 2 degrees cooler than the outside. It's been cold at night though. Like down in the 50s, and it stays a pretty constant, I don't know, 76-ish degrees in the house all night, all the time. In fact, it gets to the point where it's kind of too hot in the house sometimes at night. Not sure how that's all going to work out. We have lots of insulation plans, attic fan, I guess, more attic vents, you know, building some kind of shaded porch, insulation, whatever. We're going to do what we can. I'm curious to see what the all-time low temperature inside this house is going to end up being. I was concerned that it would be really cold in here in the winter. I'm pretty sure those concerns were misplaced. But hey, maybe it'll get super cold in December, January. Who knows? Stay tuned to find out.